How you doing,
Oh,
John?
you got that thing you do in the background.
I figured I had to have a graphic, to be kind of professional here for my students. First question. Each year, every year during my AP Human Geography class, I show that thing you do. Just starting out, can you just share some of your favorite movies or favorite memories about this movie?
Well, there's nonstop favorite memories. It was the greatest experience. We won the roles separately, and then we became a band. They brought us together, and they asked for us to learn our instruments. And so we spent over 8 weeks trying to learn how to play and play those songs. And I think one of the greatest things that we did was they had a big reading of the screenplay at Sony in one of the sound stages. And I mean, it looked like a banquet, but in a sound stage. And we all wore this white shirts with black ties, and we got up and we played that thing you do. It was pretty unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can only imagine it was great, like working with Tom Hanks and with this great cast of young, talented actors. Being a part of that, it just seems like it would have been a whole lot of fun.
Well, every one of those guys is a light. They're really fun and talented. And, I had to keep up with like Steve Zahn and Ethan Embry. Both of them just like improv kings. I remember Hanks kind of acknowledging the fact that Zahn was such a great improv artist that we didn't need to compete with him. We just needed to react off of him. Like be the straight, like was it Laurel to the Hardy,
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So in my class, I teach this class called Advanced Placement Human Geography. And we have this section of the class where I talk about the diffusion of pop culture and kind of how something becomes popular. And this movie is the perfect example of that, because in the movie, you guys go from writing the song and like practicing it in your garage, and then, it's on the radio, and then it's on television, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Looking at that, what is it like as an actor to watch that process unfold? When you're part of something like this and you help create something that goes on to achieve success and become something that people quote with their friends, what is it like as an actor to kind of see that diffusion process unfold in front of you?
Well, that thing you do was, the song in the movie rose to the top of the charts really fast. But this movie, it took a long time for it to gain an audience. And that had a lot to do with the fact that it didn't do incredibly successful in the box office. I think for the rest of us, it was a box office success. But for Tom Hanks, it really wasn't. And I say that because you can acknowledge all his other really top #1 films, right? And after this film came out, it didn't go to the #1 spot, and it got played on the TV for VH1, Movies That Rock, and it just played nonstop. And I know the reason why is because the producers felt it didn't really get its light, and people really would enjoy the movie, and so it played nonstop, and then it grew over. I mean, it's 25 years. It's 25 years. That film is still in the national consciousness at some point. Maybe because of social media that we didn't know it was there. But all of us, we just enjoy every aspect of being part of that movie.
That's great. How many people do you think have walked into jobs they've not liked over the years and gone, I quit just out of tribute to you? It's had to happen like hundreds of times,
I asked Tom Hanks, I said, we were at a ball game, and I was like, you know what? When the pitcher gets pulled at the end of the inning and it's the opposing pitcher, they should play, I quit. And he was like, that's a great. Like, well, you're Tom Hanks, you can call anybody you want. At least I thought that way. But yeah, I have found, because of social media, that people reach out to me and have quit that way. And that's pretty much the way that I won that film. I had one audition. I went into the audition, and there was a part of in the screenplay that we were all given and the scenes that we had to read. And it said, I quit, period. I quit, period. No, it was, I quit, Mr. White. And I was working with an acting teacher, and we were trying to figure out, neat, creative ways to present to Tom Hanks. And I literally sang the song. I literally pretended there was a microphone, and I went, I quit, Mr. White. And I looked at him, I looked at Tom Hanks, and then I bolted out the door. And he came behind the door and said, get back in here, kid.
Are there other ways that you kind of witness things from that movie sort of become part of like the public consciousness, or just that pop culture consciousness that everybody has?
Well, I don't know necessarily, I'm not a pop culture wizard, but I can tell you that the way that he addressed that band was the way that the dream happens for most bands. I've had Steven Stills come up to me and say, oh my God, I love that movie. That was Buffalo Springfield. I've had Rascal Flatts like, that's us, man. That's our band. That's who we are. And you know how many other bands? I'm the Jimmy in the band. Oh, we totally had. We had a Mr. White. Yeah. So much so, over the years, one of the coolest things that ever happened with me was me and Steve Zahn. We were down at the Super Bowl in New Orleans. We were with the band Journey and the band Rascal Flatts, and me and Steve, and we were walking across like a road, not a freeway, but it was like, people noticed you when you were crossing it. And the car stops in the middle of the street and jumps out and goes, and we were with Journey and Rascal Flatts, and the guy jumps out and he goes, oh my God, it's the Wonders.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
You're like, thank goodness they didn't say Onetters, right?
Yeah.
So
I think Dawn probably did do that. You mean the Onetters? Like, whatever happened in years?
So you've appeared in a number of other projects throughout your career, movies, television, you name it. I'm a big comic book guy, and you can't really see my whole classroom, but I've got comic book posters of like DC and Marvel comics up all over the place, and it's always been kind of my thing. So one of my favorite roles that you were involved in was your portrayal of Jonah Hex on DC's Legends of Tomorrow. As an actor, how do you prepare for a role where you portray a character that has been developed by numerous comic book writers and artists, and it's already a character that's loved by all these people all over the world? How do you prepare for something like that?
Well, that goes back to that thing you do, because I learned 25 years ago how to prepare a character, and Tom Hanks taught me how to do that. He made us ingest everything 1964, everything about the music of that time. We became musicians. Well, not very good ones, but we became musicians. We embodied everything that we possibly could and then let it go. So the same thing I did with Jonah Hex. I read everything I possibly get my hands on and watched everything, because you can do that nowadays. Called a lot of people. I love calling people out of the blue. They were like, you're what? I'm playing Jonah Hex. I want to learn. Susan Hilgig in Chicago has this Pony Express, and she's a Jonah Hex expert. We were gonna do a podcast together. That's my chair. That's not me farting. So I study everything possible about the character, and then I rely on the costumer, and I love collaborating. The greatest thing about being in film back then, there was a process, and Tom Hanks acknowledged the process because it was his process. And that meant you work with the hair people. When Jimmy had that hair, I remember I was looking at the Beatles, Dave Clark 5. And I was like, man, you know what? He's the guy that would have that hair. Jimmy would be the one. And then the hairdresser did it, who's a genius hairdresser. And then what I never had to experience before was someone had to come in and tell me whether it was okay or not. And that somebody was Tom Hanks. And he came in and he sat down in the chair next to me and he looked in the mirror and goes, yeah, and walked out. That's how Jimmy got that hair. So collaborated on it and we came up with the best, idea. And I know they wanted me to have my hair a little bit further back because, it would have been better. It would have been, I was the talent and the look. So they wanted me to be more, handsome would be the word. But I've always played characters to T. So it was great.
Awesome. Well, I loved your Jonah Hex. I have a Jonah Hex comic that you signed that you gave away on your Facebook page right about the time that first aired. And I was one of the people who won one of those. It was written by you and the writer of the comic. So that's still one of my favorite pieces of my collection right there.
Is it Jimmy that signed it as well?
It was.
Oh yeah, Jimmy's the best. I mean, God, what a great soul. You meet these incredible writers, producers, people who really are magnificent in what they do. And Jimmy is and what a soul. We've become such good friends. We'll try to hang out somewhere after COVID. Oh my God. But yeah, Jonah Hex, a lot of fun. I actually reached out to them last night after watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I was like, Jonah Hex should retire that uniform. Yeah, he really should. And the reason why he should was not because of his understanding, because Jonah Hex was a slave growing up. Mm-hmm. Knowing that, he just doesn't care what anyone else thinks. But I think there's comes someone in his life that makes him realize, wow, this really hurts them to see me this way. Yeah. And because it's got to be someone like his daughter, like a daughter or something. And then he would retire that uniform. I hope they do that. That would be great. I would love to do that with Legends.
That'd be great. I had the privilege and honor of meeting Jimmy at a Comic Con in Atlanta a couple of years ago. And I had him sign another Jonah Hex comic I had, and he ended up drawing this great illustration on it. And it's not even anything I asked for or anything. He just did it because he wanted to do it. And I was so impressed. And like him and his wife are both just so friendly and just so talented. It's just amazing.
Yeah, they really are.
He's a good guy.
Yep.
So last question I got for you. Every year I have a number of students that have never seen that thing you do. And I know I've got this coming up in a week or two. And I asked my students this year who's seen it, and like one or two of them out of like about 17 or 18 have seen it. And that's it. So every year it's my great pleasure to watch them become fans of this film as I did. And I see them start to discover these songs and discover your all's performances. And they become big fans of it, where they're quoting the movie in my class from now till the end of school year, because it's something new and cool to them, just like it was to me 25 years ago when I first saw it in theaters. I know they're going to greatly appreciate hearing from you and being able to watch this. Is there any advice that you would like to pass on to my high school students, both current or previous students who might be in college or something like that now? What would you say to the young people of America coming up right now?
Never quit on your dreams. Fight for them. Dream one dream at a time and make them happen, because you really can make them happen. You find all the things that are in the way, you address them, you get rid of them, and you keep pursuing your dream. And don't be Jimmy. Don't quit on the band.
Gotcha. That is great. Jonathan, sir, I greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk with me and make this little video that I can share with my students.
Remember, there comes a time in everyone's life when the dream that you dream becomes that thing you do.
Awesome. See ya.